RWSRL, where today we could have a potential champion crowned in Brazil. You heard me right. Champion could be settled. The championship can be settled tonight. And I'll tell you what happens, what's in order for that championship to be sealed and done with. So, the championship battle, if you've been living under a rock, it consists of both Weeksy and Ozzy. They've been battling it out all season to see who will reign supreme. And so far, so good for Ozzy. And what needs to happen for Ozzy to win the championship is that if Weeksy DNFs and then Ozzy would get P3 or above, then Ozzy is champion. If Weeksy gets P9 or below, and Ozzy gets P2 or above, he's champion. If Weeksy gets P5 or lower, and Ozzy wins, he's champion. If P8 Weeksy and P2 or above for Ozzy, Ozzy is champion. So, what needs to basically happen? That needs to happen. Constructors can also be wrapped up today, but I won't go into detail about that. The main headline is that a potential champion can be crowned with Ozzy or Weeksy. I mean, Weeksy can't win the championship today, sorry. He can only overtake in the championship today. But Ozzy can get it sealed. Ozzy needs to keep his head down and just focus in this Grand Prix and short qualifying session, which consists of around 17 minutes. The actual Grand Prix itself consists of 36 laps around the infamous Autodromo Jose Carlo pace? I think that's what it's called. Something like that. Something like that. It's Interlagos, the infamous Interlagos track. And let's see if the championship can be sealed today. So, the drivers now loading in, and will be shortly loading into the actual session itself. The stage is set, and we could be under a go here in Interlagos very shortly. So as you can see, the lineups here for today's Grand Prix. So Weeksy, DJ Flux, both they've been really good in terms of attendance, of course. Only last week Weeksy had to miss out due to him being on holiday. Ink is the only Red Bull, it seems like. Depth Knights might not be able to attend this today's race, which would not be good for Red Bull in the championship battle in constructors. Ferrari consisting of Callum and Juan Codfish. McLaren with only Ragnar for today. Brad is the only man on Alpine. The AlphaTauri man goes to Game Changer. Ozzy and Chris Towns both lining up for Aston Martin. The Williams Racing team consists of Remix and only Remix. For Romeo is Harry, and no one is on Haas. Well, there might not be the fullest of drivers, but there will be full of entertainment brought out throughout this live stream. Championship could be done and dusted with tonight's Grand Prix in Interlagos. Will it though? Can the infamous driving ability of Ozzy get the better of Weeksy in another league? I saw Weeksy's opponent in a different league overcome him in the championship standings. So this would be a double blow, really, as a loss for Weeksy. And if you're wondering, no sprint, it's just short qualifying. Then on to the Grand Prix, we'll go Brazil. The penultimate race of the calendar. The next one is going to Abu Dhabi. Will it go on to Abu Dhabi or is it still today? Only time will tell. Well, time is telling us that, I think we were waiting on some other drivers before we loaded to the short qualifying session. We should have loaded in about 4 minutes ago. So, I wonder where everyone is at. And you can see people already readying up, so it might just be time to undergo here in qualifying. Looks like we're waiting on Cringe. He's the person with the least amount of points this season. Bottom of the grid. In terms of the standings, is it going to be bottom of the grid in the Grand Prix, though, when he joins? We will have to see. So there he is. He's loaded in now. I think we can go under a go here in Interlagos in the hot, sunny skies of Brazil. Satisfying wins of not only this race, but the championship will overcome soon. Who takes the victory? We'll have to find out very shortly. But I'll go for another recap on what happens in the championship. So, if we exceed DNFs, then Aussie has to get P3 or above to win, to get the championship, to have it in his hands, and to finally have his glory. But he can also get his glory if Weeksy gets P8. Sorry, no, that's P9. If Weeksy gets P9 or below, and Aussie gets P2 or above, then he's champion. If Weeksy gets P8 and P2 or above for Aussie, he's champion. If Weeksy gets a P5 or lower and Aussie wins, he's champion. So, we load in with a 13-point gap between the two in the championship. The stakes are high. Will it be even higher if it goes into Abu Dhabi? Well, it will be higher if it goes into Abu Dhabi. So, we now wait the patient 10 seconds before the drivers itch themselves to get on track, trying to showcase their driving skills, in which they have done all season. Weeksy and Aussie, though, have to show them once more. So, we've got 13 people in here, so you could be guaranteed for points if there are 3 people to DNF from the tricky turns of Interlagos, but the tricky turns have to be conquered by Aussie. In return, he would get the World Championship. I think that's rain, actually. Or I'm just blind. No, that is definitely rain. So we've got Rain on track. You've got to get your dry lap time in as soon as you can, because soon enough it would be time for inters in this qualifying session. That is definitely Rain. Rain on track, not what the drivers want. But if you could just get your dry lap in before everybody else, you have a huge chance at pole position. I don't think people have quite realised it yet. Otherwise, people have to be rushing out of the pit lane. There's rain in Brazil. This could tweak the chances of Aussie being champion if he is yet to come out the pit lane. He's still not coming out. It looks like an Alpha Terry will perform the first lap. That's game changer. The rain is definitely a game changer. And his time could most certainly be a game changer here. Rain coming down. You've got to get your flying lap in quick, and that is what Game Changer is doing. So is Juan Codfish. He follows suit in crossing over the line. Maybe we'll see a surprise pole like we did in real life. But this time, of course, in the infamous game. In the infamous track of Interlagos. So many surprises have been dealt here in RWSRL. Another memory can be flashed in front of our eyes if the script goes to plan. The question is, will it? And, well, the answer in terms of qualifying, no. The script's definitely gone off script there. In terms of rain falling, I think it's right up now. I don't see any rain, actually. No, you can definitely see a little bit more droplets. It's literally coming onto the camera. So Game Changer, with his lap time being performed, that's going to be 1:10.1. Not the best lap in the world. Aussie is on his flying lap. He's got to get that lap done and dusted as soon as he can. Here's Juan Codfish, though, going to cross the line. Weeksy takes pole very early on here, getting his dry lap time in. Brad coming in with his dry lap time with a 1:10.1. And Weeksy, so far, is on track to be pole. But the question is Aussie going to snatch it up in the early stages? Now, rain really starting to fall now. You can see it on the camera. And now Aussie going to round off his lap time, going to tie it off with a little bow. Is it going to be one to remember? No! Second on the grid! 1.1 seconds behind Weeksy's time. And with rain pouring down, surely fate is sealed. Weeksy should be on pole. DRS disabled. That should be it. Weeksy got his dry lap time in at the perfect moment. 108.7. The deed is done. Weeksy will be on the front row with his fellow championship rival just sneaking behind. This is a game changer. Oh my, oh my. I mean, I just don't know what to say. You know, cards have been dealt in front of Aussie. You have to work with it. Unfortunately, he didn't work it as well as Weeksy did. And Weeksy, with a crucial moment in this championship battle, he does earn himself a pole position. And it most certainly will definitely be pole position, as this rain is going to make every lap time ahead of it even more worse and even more tricky to do. And pretty much where you are on the grid right now is what you're going to be come the race. This is just what Weeksy needed. And it's what he got. I can't quite believe my eyes. Everyone in the pits. I cannot believe it. Well, this should go into Abu Dhabi. But this is RWSRL. Nothing can be predicted. A sting is injected into Aussie's championship reign for now. He's got to try and heal himself come the race itself. And Weeksy might just get it into Abu Dhabi. And from then on, it's game on. Well, 9 minutes and 25 seconds left in the qualifying session. And the early stages are the only stages which is needed to set the foundation for the Brazilian Grand Prix. See, enters on there for DJ Flux. If there was any man to take the chance that they so desperately needed, it was going to be Weeksy. And it is Weeksy. Weeksy should be on pole. Well, people are quite complaining about not having force feedback. Actually, that includes Juan Codfish and DJ Flux himself. DJ Flux didn't even set a lap time before. We'll take a look at him as he rounds off the lap. I don't think it will mean much though. He's invalidated it anyways. Invalidated lap time. And, well, you go for another lap now. There we go. So, DJ, what can he set in the wets? I mean, no one else is going to bother setting a lap time. Invalidated for DJ Flux, so that's not going to help him. And it looks like Weeksy has just told me that he's going out into the track. He's gonna go on softs. I'm not too sure why he would be doing it. Yeah, you can see him actually coming out the pit lane with softs on. Is the rain going to stop at just the perfect time? I mean, I don't know what Weeksy is thinking here. Maybe just for some entertainment for us. Oh, he's into the wall. He's into the wall. And so is his teammate. He's also into the wall. Oh, drifting. Yeah, he's just doing this for fun now, basically. I think it's just a celebratory lap, to be honest. But we'll watch it anyways. Weeksy practically celebrating and rubbing it in the face of Ozzy due to the fact that rain now hinders and disrupts the flow of Ozzy's rain. Well, rain in terms of the championship and being better, but also rain on track. We'll see what weeks he can set there. If he can somehow improve on the lap, then, I mean, fair play. He deserves to be champion. But doesn't look like he's going to be very good. Yeah, he's just doing this for fun, basically. DJ Flux is still yet to set a lap time. And now he will start off, of course, a flying lap. He'll spin 8 times. I don't think he cares, though. Just a bit like he'll spin 8 times, but he's also got 8 minutes on the clock. Never mind, he was just being silly. I'm assuming he just didn't want to DNF. I think that was the main worry. Well, they were quite late to try and put Weeksy back in. Of course. DJ Flux coming out. Brad looks like he's heading out. He has headed out, actually. People are now starting to retire, realising there's no real point left in the session. He's on the inters. We'll see if Brad can improve on his 110.1. Of course, I do doubt it. I mean, Ozzy's, just retired now from the session. So, definitely his P2 is secured, as if it wasn't already. And now, Brad, across the line, going to start off another flyer for the Alpine. Maybe can he shoot himself up with the setback of rain, despite the setback of rain. We will take a minute to admire his lap, to look and study on it, and, well, it doesn't necessarily seem like a very good lap. 1.5 seconds off to be expected, really. So there's definitely going to be no improvement for Brad. You might as well do some spin-a-roonies, why don't you? Just go round and round and round. You might as well. Just, there's really nothing for me to say in this qualifying session rather than just, Weeksy pole. That's huge for the championship. mean, they genuinely. As a commentator, it's kind of the worst position for me. I mean, Weeksy just retired, but because I can't say anything. I don't know what to say because there's nothing for me to say. Except for DJ Flux, of course, making his lap time actually got better than Chris Towns and Codfish's time. I don't know quite how Chris Towns and Juan Codfish managed that. But they did. So, that's pretty much it for the qualifying session. So, 9 seconds left into qualifying session. So, there you go then, folks. Game, set, match. Oh, never mind. Brad's out for another lap. It's gonna be an awful lap, but he's going out nevertheless. Let's hope there's no early rain in the actual race itself. Sorry, it hasn't been a... Okay, my controller just fell. I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if my mic is now cutting out. I don't know anything. But what I do know is that end of qualifying session, there was early rain, and that settled the deal for Weeksy to go on pole early on in the Brazilian short qualifying session with Ozzy, his championship rival, just lurking behind in P2. It's going to be an all... out battle between these two championship fights, these two powerhouses of this season. Callum, Inc., Brad, Game Changer, Remix, Harry, Ragnar, Flux, Chris Towns, Juan Codfish, Cringe, Megan are all of the below. Thank you for watching the qualifying session, and now we'll shortly get on to the Grand Prix. Is the championship going to be sealed, or does it go into Abu Dhabi? So, the formation lap will commence shortly. And the championship battle, the two behemoths of Weeksy and Ozzy will go out time and time again in this Grand Prix. I'm sure of it. Some great battling, which could potentially seal the championship if the script that Ozzy is planning does set out to success, which would bring him not only satisfaction, but also his, what I would say, earned glory. The drivers now warming up their tyres. Of course, Weeksy, a man on a mission to carry this out into Abu Dhabi and make this just a little bit more interesting. Of course, there is a 7-point gap between P1 and P2. So, if it was to end like this, then Weeksy would win and Ozzy would go second. Then, that 13-point gap goes down to a 6-point gap going into Abu Dhabi. The penultimate race could be the most entertaining race with battles from the front in which could very much shape out the whole of this race and could shape out potentially Abu Dhabi as well. The two powerhouses, behemoths, whatever you want to call them. Weeksy and Aussie up top. They both look at each other with anger. A face-off which could go down for years to come in in RWSRL. Almost said a different league then. It's because the other league I commentated on, Weeksy is on there, so I'm usually used to saying that league. Apologies, this is RWSRL. This is RWSRL. This is the Brazilian Grand Prix. This could be for it all. Or will Abu Dhabi seal it? 5 red lights. Green light, go, 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 here in RWSRL for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And Weeksy is pulling away right off the start, down into the first turn we go. Multiple people side by side, but Weeksy and Aussie not going side by side. It's just what Weeksy wanted. The perfectly planned start. Weeksy might be pulling away from Aussie near the start. Here's Aussie making a potential move there. Oh, you can see very close into touching the back there of Weeksy. That's going to cost him a lot of time. And now Callum can sneak up on the inside or outside potentially of that green Aston Martin. We can see Ragnar and DJ Flux having a battle, and that could turn into a Ragnar and Remix battle there. It's not going to. Maybe it is though. Down the inside, the McLaren goes of Ragnar, and that move is done and dusted. Maybe another clean sweep maneuver being pulled off here by DJ Flux as he's looking to go round the outside of the same Williams. Following suit of Ragnar, he does overtake said Williams, and so does Harry. So really Remix not having a good start and really mixing up the pack here. This is just what Weeksy wants though. This start was the main goal. Just get ahead and perform and try and pull off a gap, in which he has done successfully here. Cringe looking to go on the inside there. Juan Codfish, he's looking to go for it, and you can see Chris Tow's now peeking down the inside. Is he going to be able to do it? No, he's going to have to stay behind, but Juan Codfish could not wait anymore. Look to go down the inside there of Cringe. He could not get that move pulled off. You can see now Ragnar getting very close here to Brad. Maybe down the inside or outside. No, has to stay behind. You can see Brad also close to Ink. So maybe just a gap being pulled off here by Inkstar. Just maybe performing a DRS train of himself here. Remix 1.3 seconds behind the rest of the pack. That is definitely a DRS train, which doesn't involve the last drive on the grid, which is Megan. They've fallen off quite massively there. Weeksy, though, still ahead of Aussie. Yet again, this is what he wants. Keep ahead. Get a 6-point gap going into Abu Dhabi. Brad, what's Brad done? Spinning down the order. And spinning till last place. Definitely something that Weeksy or Aussie does not want to pull off. Aussie there, fastest lap. Game changer though, instantly pulling that one off. As now that 1 second zone is now there with it. No, never mind. But you can see Remix and Harry going side by side into the first turn. Remix does definitely have the better exit out of turn 2. He's got that move pulled off. Here's Cringe now. He's looking to sneak a move potentially down the inside of said Alfa Romeo here. But now it could be side by side with Harry and Remix once more. Some great battling involving Remix as he's pushed off track and is falling down the order. He's now in P11. The front runner of this DRS train is now going to be the back runner, the DRS train. And now Remix looking to have a move here, maybe a switchback maneuver here by the Williams. It's a great maneuver, to be honest. He's kept it with him, and maybe down the inside into the next one. A little bit of contact between the two. It pushes Harry off wide. He's forced into the grass. He's forced into P13 where he meets his teammate. So Remix maybe not the cleanest of manoeuvres, but he's got the job done, and it's what Aussie needs to do here. So now look at the speed he's got on Weeksy. DRS wide open there, down the inside, he's looking to go. The corner isn't even needed, and Aussie has the overtake on edge of this Aston Martin of Aussie. Now look at this, round the outside he's looking to go of Aussie. There we go, round the outside. And still the medium's just pulling ahead of Aussie there. And now Weeksy goes off track. The gap potentially going to be pulled off here by Aussie. Callum now looking for a move. He's not going to get it. Weeksy needs to close down this 1/10 gap to Aussie, in which he would successfully get the re-overtake like he tried to perform a little bit ago. And Weeksy down into P2. Aussie leading the pack. And now you can see DRS will be coming into play here for Weeksy, saving up his DRS quite well, but he's going to use it just the tiniest bit. DRS wide open for the Mercedes, and now he's getting really close up to that Aston Martin. He's not going to have the chance to go for a move, though. Callum had that chance to move up on Weeksy, but he made sure he wasn't going to go for that move. I'm not too sure why. He backed out of it just before thinking about it, you can see. Now Weeksy under pressure from the red of Ferrari. Then round the outside, what a manoeuvre this could be. Round the outside, Callum looked to go, and he's squeezed a little bit off track there by Weeksy, but the deed is done, and Weeksy's still into P2. And of course, this would still go into Abu Dhabi. But a 6-point gap would be ideal for Weeksy, not a 20-point gap. So a win is 100% key for the Mercedes man. Whoa! Callum into the grass. We just about got that on camera. That was a bit of a tricky position there for Callum. And you can see now, Game Changer inherits, of course, that P3. But you can see that gap is in favour of Weeksy there, and there we go. Ink looking round the outside of Game Changer, and instantly Game Changer sheepishly goes into P4, but he's looking to try and get the re-overtake on the Red Bull here. DRS wide open. He's used so much of his battery, and you can see it's not working out for him as Ragnar full steam ahead. The McLaren able to get it down the inside. No problemo. He is up into P4. Game Changer losing 2 positions in 1 lap. Definitely not what the AlphaTauri wants. But Aussie is currently leading. The gap might be... you can see Colin Codfish there getting very close here to Chris Towns. Now the 2 Ferraris going side by side here. Callum and Codfish. Of course, Callum slipping down the order earlier on. Oh, you can see Weeksy up top, though. Look how close Weeksy is getting here. And onto the straight. Surely an overtake will be performed by Weeksy. ERS wide open. Is DRS going to be wide open as well? It will be. And DRS on the Aston Martin. So with the ERS potentially back down the inside. Weeksy could go here. Surely he'll look for it. He will. Down the inside. No! He has to stay behind. Just without the necessary gap to go for the overtake. Can he get that said gap onto this straight? He's using a little bit of his ERS. No more. He uses ERS. Looking to make Aussie good defensive. But that plan is, or has been, failed. Weeksy still searching and is itching for this overtake. He's not going to go for it just yet. Has to stay behind with 3/10 on the clock. The overtake would be huge if Weeksy can get it. You can see here now Callum getting on the back of Chris Towns. Chris says, no, though, you're not going to get the overtake just yet on me. You have to wait a little bit more, Buckaroo. But now I'm going to go up top because you can see Weeksy, DRS, wide open. And look at the speed he's got on Aussie. Surely he'll look for the move this time. No, he's going to bait it down the inside, round the outside. Now he's looking to go here on Aussie. He just about keeps his nose in, but he cannot find a way to get past the Aston Martin. But look how closely bunched up Weeksy is to the back of Aussie. DRS wide open here on the left-hand side on this short straight. Surely the overtake is pulled off. You can see now Aussie looking for a switch. back maneuver here. He's got the switch back maneuver. They're still side by side. Going into the next tricky turns here. Into Lagos. Still hooking up round the outside. Ozzy still looking for the overtake. A little bit of a squeeze there by Weeksy. Is the overtake pulled off? Another switch back maneuver going to be performed by Ozzy. The two behemoths going back to back to back. This is just what we signed up for. It's what we're getting. But Weeksy, for now, is up top. He re-overtakes Ozzy for P1. Well, that battle lasted literally 90% of that lap. The battle might continue here, though. Another chapter in this story being written by these two. And now here comes Ozzy. Down the inside, he's looking to go here on Weeksy. Weeksy needs to keep it round the outside. No, he has to let the Aston Martin go, or purposely did so to get the DRS off this straight. If so, smart from the Mercedes, pulling off everything that he can to get the overtake back. Maybe forcing Ozzy to go defensive. No. And Ozzy now finally has his overtake and re-overtakes for P1. This is why the build-up I put on about these two in qualifying was, I told the story. This is why I was hyped up for this race. This is exactly why Weeksy and Ozzy, side by side through many turns, many surprises, and for Ozzy's point of view, many switchbacks. But like you see, 5/10 is the gap between Ozzy and Weeksy now as we go onto the main straight with DRS wide open for Weeksy. I'm not too sure that gap's going to come down too fast for the Mercedes, and it doesn't really. Not once the work wants, really. So he's really got to stay focused here like he has done many a time this season. And now he's got the DRS. This is getting close, you know. Weeksy and Ozzy. It's like David versus Goliath, but they're both Goliaths. It's just what we want to see. And Weeksy kind of forced to stay behind now. He's got to be a little bit strategic of how he manoeuvres around this, because he knows that he's on a different strategy to Ozzy. Ozzy going from mediums to hards, I'm assuming. And Weeksy looking to go from hards to mediums. So both of them different strategies and different racing abilities, which is why this battle has been so entertaining all season. But still, Weeksy, there are some horrible camera angles for Interlagos multiple times. Like, you're just wanting to see this kind of view, you know, side by side action. But sometimes it goes to like the wing. I don't know why it does that. It's a little bit annoying, but it's a bit annoying for Weeksy as he's still not not trying, but he can't get the overtake. He needs to get a little bit of an edge here. You can see Sector 2 is not favourable for the Mercedes man, and Ozzy is just pulling away the tiniest bit. Weeksy, though, head down and focus. I mean, it's so satisfying just watching them manoeuvre around these tricky turns. Now, for this straight, ERS being used. DRS now going to be used. You can see of how close this gap will come down to here as we enter into the first turn. He's definitely gaining and gaining and gaining. Maybe he'll send it. No, stays behind. Take as much as you can. They look how close these two are. Once again, Weeksy gonna be looking for the overtake. What's happened to Aussie? They're both got so much ERS, but Weeksy just has that little bit more with the DRS. Round the outside, he's looking to go once more, hooking it up round the outside. Looks to try and keep his nose in. He's done more than that. He's kept all wheels of his car in. Now down the inside, they're looking to go side by side like they have done many a time this season. And unfortunately for Weeksy, he does not win this battle. But you could say that Aussie's won the battle. Maybe Weeksy will win the war. Now, Aussie might be pitting soon. Weeksy will not be just yet. So Aussie not pitting. Now you can see DRS wide open. ERS also being used from Mercedes. And now you can see Ink's looking for a move out of nowhere. The Rebel has been patiently sitting behind. He's patient no more. Now looking for that move on Weeksy. Can this just stutter Weeksy's chances of getting this into Abu Dhabi here as we go onto the straight? Still has DRS though, Weeksy. Still cannot get the edge over the Rebel. Down the inside he will go. Weeksy has to keep it ahead of Ink. You can see a gap now is going to be is going to be formed between Weeksy and Aussie. If this battle goes on anymore, this is not what Weeksy wants. It is what Aussie wants. And Ink is now making an occurrence, an unwanted occurrence for Weeksy. And you can see a bit of a squeeze there as they enter into the next turn. But Weeksy just about keeps the battle alive for keeps. His P2, and you just see, look at that. 9/10 now the gap is. Definitely did not favour Weeksy, but the main thing is he still has that DRS onto this straight. That's the most key thing of all. And Codfish is out of the Grand Prix. You can see just there on track, that should be a safety car. Is that a full course or is it just a VSC? Juan Codfish out of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And I don't know who this favours more. Does it favour Weeksy? Does it favour Aussie? People are now pitting. That includes Callum, Megan and Brad. So safety car. I think it's a VSC. It's not full course. So the VSC no longer. DRS, ERS. Weeksy doing whatever he can to get the overtake. Can he look for it down the inside? He can't. He has to stay behind. And yet, he's still itching for this move. Aussie preventing him from getting the overtake. You can see how close they are, though. Going onto the straight, surely the overtake. It's going to happen. Look at that horrible camera angle. Jesus Christ. But look at this beautiful racing between the two. Round the outside, he's looking to hook it up there. Weeksy, no. Stays behind. He knows that he won't have the better exit. It won't be pulled off. Weeksy smartly staying behind for now. Maybe he'll look for it down into these next sections here in Sector 2. But the overtake has been persevered. Weeksy needs to wait just that tiny bit more. Now, you can see on the straight, surely the overtake now for Weeksy. DRS will be open. Is he going to use DRS though? No, he's not going to use it. It's just solely DRS. Raw power of the DRS here. Not going to come for a sufficient success for Weeksy. See a little bit of the rear snapping there for Weeksy. The back end tyres going just the tiniest bit. You can't look for it down the straight. Aussie, by the skin of his teeth, is staying ahead. Weeksy has to do something about it though. I think he will do something about it. Literally, this gap is the closest gap to any cars on the grid. So that kind of just shows how these two are just so close in pace. They both equally deserve the championship as another. When you can see there, I think that's a Alfa Romeo they're going off. It is. I believe that's Harry. So, pull from him. And you can see, pulling into the pit lane is Aussie. So it's Inkstar, so they went from, of course, mediums to now hards. Weeksy has to push on these laps to enable a gap, which shouldn't be closed down, but he needs to create a gap so that at least it's close. At least when he does exit the pit lane, when he pits, he will be ahead. That's what he's aiming for. But fresh hards for both Aussie, Inkstar, and DJ Flux, and Chris Towns. Megan setting the fastest lap time so far with a 1:10.9. Callum snatching it up with a 1:10.9. So Aussie, you can see 20-second gap. 21-second gap almost to Weeksy, and Weeksy will be pulling into the pit lane. I'm assuming around lap 20. So he needs to make sure that Aussie does not close down that gap. You can see already though, Aussie has closed it down by 2 tenths. 2 tenths no longer. He's just pulling away a tiny bit now. Weeksy needs to keep this gap secured, but you can see Megan here try to follow the back of Brad onto some nice hards. Getting purple second sector. I mean, Megan did snatch up fastest lap earlier on, clearly showing that he has pace. Ragnar pulling into the pit lane, which puts Aussie P2. And I don't think Megan's going to be quite close. I mean, look at that. 1:10.8 gets another fastest lap. So Megan really pulling off. So, great laps compared to the rest. Maybe that overtake from Brad is more if, but when. See now the gap of 21 is now 20.9. So Weeksy definitely not having some great pace on these old hards. Thought he was going to pull into the pit lane there, but no, I think this is one more lap and then the pit lane will be filled up with Weeksy's presence. DJ Flux now looking for an overtake soon on Ragnar. So this is, of course, the other Merc. Aussie's setting the fastest lap, so he's definitely going quick on those mediums. And you can see that gap now really closed down, but the gap between DJ and Ragnar closing down to the extreme here. Maybe an overtake for the other Merc will be arising soon. So over the horizon, you can just see it happening. Megan though, just hovering around that 7 tenths gap that they had did when we flicked to them earlier on. DJ Flux now still getting very close here to Ragnar. I feel like if there's any lap for Weeksy to pit, it would be now, to be honest, and that is what Weeksy is doing. Pit lane for Weeksy. No 5 seconds. Is Aussie, though, going to pass him? It's going to be close. I just think that Aussie might have the little edge. So here we go, on to the straight. Weeksy now exiting out of his pit lane. Is there a gap being formed here by Weeksy pulling into the pit lane here? I mean, of course, They're going to meet each other down onto this short straight like they have many a time before. Is Weeksy ahead? They literally could be side by side. No, Weeksy is pulling ahead. Weeksy is ahead and is on the softer compound tyres. Now Aussie really has to put the spanner in the works. He cannot let Weeksy run away with this. The perfect pit stop for Weeksy has him still ahead of Aussie. Granted, he does have those colder tyres, Weeksy, but you can see the gap now really being pulled away. Aussie might just be out of reach of stopping the championship right here, right now. It is surely going to continue out into Abu Dhabi. Of course, if you're wondering why even bother, why doesn't Weeksy just sit in P2 and just have that 2.4 second comfortable gap to Inkstar? Well, if you take the win here, Weeksy, then you get a 6-point gap going into... Oh, big mistake there by Aussie. And Weeksy's going to pull away. Out of DRS is Aussie. That's a huge moment in this Brazilian Grand Prix. And Weeksy will 1,000% be pulling away with it for victory here. As it stands, not only does it go into Abu Dhabi, but the gap between Aussie and Weeksy goes to 6 points. That's huge for the Merc. He has to make sure he keeps his cool and do it. And now Megan really getting close. The Brab have been flicking back to this a couple of times now, seeing if Megan can get that overtake. I do think that they will. The Alpine now. Still staying ahead. Oh, that's very late on the brakes there from Megan. I'm assuming that they have to stay behind on this. They do. Weeksy, fast lap. Yeah, look at that gap now. 1.5 now to 2.6. Aussie's practically letting Weeksy pull away with it. Megan's looking to get closer here to Brad with DRS wide open. Maybe look for the move down the inside. Would be a tall order. And the order is not met. Mistake by Chris Towns, I believe that is. Yep. For a second, my heart stopped. Thought it was Aussie, but no. Doesn't need to make any more mistakes than he currently has had. And you can see that DRS coming into play there for Megan. Finally getting that overtake on Brad on the inside. I mean, she's absolutely flying past. .3 seconds is now the gap. This attempt from Aussie at trying to close down the championship, and not close down necessarily, but stop the championship, will come to a disappointing end, I reckon, with 6 points to go into Abu Dhabi. 14 laps left to go in the Brazilian Grand Prix. 14 laps of pure focus for Aussie is 1,000% needed. But will it be enough here? Now, Ink could be looking a move here on Aussie, so I don't think it's just solely on the tyres. I just think that's Aussie's just being slow. Definitely not what he needs at all. In the most crucial race of the season, literally, the last races are easily the most crucial races of the season. And Aussie, he needs to get victory in Brazil. He cannot afford to make any more mistakes. If he does, then Abu Dhabi is much more favourable to Weeksy. I mean, if Aussie was DNF right now out of nowhere, let me see, a 25-point gap minus 13 would be a 12-point gap with Weeksy overtaking him in the championship standing. So a DNF from Aussie would definitely not be favourable. just needs to keep his cool. You can see out of ERS now. I mean, he's used all he can to try and close up that gap. Literally, these are the worst times for Aussie to run out of ERS. 12 or so chilling laps for Aussie. Warm, comfortable, cozy laps for Weeksy. That is, unless he does make a crucial mistake. And now look at how close Inkstar is to Aussie. Inkstar very high up in the championship and could be very high up here in the Grand Prix. Round the outside, he's looking to go here on Aussie. These two going back to back to back here. And look at that, Aussie with the better straight line speed though, the better exit going off of that first two turns. But now here comes Inkstar. Round the outside, he's looking to hook it. And I think he'll get the overtake. Aussie though, still trying to keep his nose in. And he does that successfully, pushes Inkstar off the track. And Aussie still remains in P2, but now the gap between Weeksy's turns from 3.9 to 6.2. Inkstar doing all he can to get the overtake on Aussie. If he is to get that overtake, pain will settle in for Aussie. It would be a 3-point gap going into Abu Dhabi if Weeksy remains P1 and Aussie does drop down into P3, which might happen here, as Aussie could be a sitting duck on this straight. DRS open, look at the speed that the Red Bull has here. No, stays behind. Looks to be more cautious than ever at trying to get past Aussie. Knows that Aussie would have probably got the better exit out of turn 2. But into turn 4, cannot get the overtake. And right now has a 3-second time penalty. Definitely not what he needs, as he's equally trying to close down that gap to Inkstar himself, and DJ Flux right on the back of him. Sorry, I accidentally did that. I meant to go onto here and go over to penalties. There we go. So Harry's the other person who has those penalties, and he's currently blocking the view, what you could say, of Aussie. But Inkstar looking for this overtake would be huge if he could get it. Which will cause a disruption in Aussie's attempt at getting back at Weeksy. The attempt has, is being, just unfavourable each and every lap. Aussie needs to close down that gap to Weeksy as fast as he can, but he's just not fast enough. Don't notice the tyres. But whatever it is, slow would be an understatement. And now, DRS, ERS, and now round the outside. Is the overtake done and dusted in? No. Just as a step on, you can see the ERS now of Inkstar run out completely. Solely has to rely on DRS. DRS isn't enough. And now, Aussie is not only being hunted down, but is also just too slow. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't want to disrespect the man at all, but it's my job to say what I see, and this is what I'm seeing. And now Inkstar is using ERS. Is using DRS. Is the gap going to close down to when he can go for a move? And it is close, but not to go for a move just yet. This is a massive battle for the championship. Just still behind Ink. Cannot look for a move yet. DJ Flux though getting on the back here of Ragnar. But you can see Inkstar just doing the exact same to Aussie. Just Aussie maybe a lap or two ago with a 1.2 second gap, sorry, 2.1 second gap I should say, to Inkstar. He could have said, well, Inkstar's the least of my worries at the moment. Now it's probably the biggest, the most worrying factor of this race so far. DRS Open. Inkstar has been wanting to pounce like a fox for so long on this green Aston Martin, is yet to do so though. Has tried a couple of times through this turn. Is he going to try it once more here? No. Still staying behind. Still with DRS. He's still waiting for that moment to overtake him. Weeksy with a clean slate at P1. Aussie on the edge of slipping down to P3. He needs to make sure that that does not happen. Harry with another 3 seconds. Aussie cannot afford to have 3 seconds. ERS. DRS! Is it finally the overtake that Inkstar's been looking for so long? Is he finally going to earn it? No, he stays behind. He has to stay behind. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get the better exit. Can he look for it here? It's just been simply great defending from Aussie. He's been parking the bus for so long. The wheels on the bus go round and round, and it's just keeping Aussie in this second place. Inkstar, look at how close he is, literally almost touching the Aston Martin. Ink. ERS. Looking for DRS. Does get DRS. Wide open. Is an overtake. Is a gap wide open? That's the main question. Nope. Not just yet. We've been studying this for so long. The test could finally be here. Or I thought that Inkstar was going to go for that one. He still remains in his position. He's 5th in the standings. This has been a great race from him. Would bump him up into 4th at the very least. Definitely wouldn't put him in 3rd. That belongs to Chris by a comfortable lead. Aston Martin 230. in terms of the constructor standings, and, well, Aston Martin are looking to challenge that, but it doesn't look like they will. Sorry, Red Bull are looking to challenge that. I think I said Aston Martin by accident. Red Bull are looking to challenge that, but I don't think they will. I'm just going to take a look at Weeksy here, because we can see that Aston Martin is dead on track, and... oh... uh-oh... Chris Towns, the teammate of Aussie, of course. DNFs, causing a full course safety car. The gap is going to shrink to Weeksy for Aussie. And now, this is getting even more spicier. But of course, the gap to Inkstar as well, that is also something that you should keep your eye on. Inkstar could very well surprise us all and get the overtake like he's been searching for so long, but never quite getting the edge on. If he does get that edge, Aussie, his dreams of being champion are just, or could be just, simply a dream. But it all is decided. It all matters, really. We all know. Abu Dhabi. Ooh. So Weeksy came into the pit lane. Aussie's now coming into the pit lane. Ink is coming into the pit lane. So I'm pretty sure everyone will be looking for some new set compound tyres. One person is staying out there. Who is that? I think that's Megan. I'm not too sure though. It might be Harry. Whoever it is, I don't really care. I think that's fair to say. But they will be going onto the softs, of course. Every single one of them. He has to try and keep this gap. He has to try and just hold it to the end. If he does do that, then satisfaction might come in Abu Dhabi. Safety car in! Safety car in! And look at that! Megan is just in the way of Aussie. And this could well open the door here for Inkstar. I'm going to mainly watch Aussie himself, to be honest. And I think that's what we'll pretty much want to see. Just does he get the gap? Or now you can see coming into pit lane, that is Megan. We go green once more in Brazil. No move going to appear for Aussie. He stays behind Weeksy. Now the gap, and now Weeksy just pulling away a tiny bit now. Look at how close it is between Inkstar and DJ Flux. Inkstar closing down to Aussie. Aussie not doing the same with Weeksy. It's now or never for the green Aston Martin. Of course, would it seal the deal in the championship? But a big advantage going into Abu Dhabi is just what Aussie needs, and it's what he will get if he is to overtake Weeksy. I don't think he can though. Weeksy might just have too much. ERS open for Inkstar. Is he going to close that gap down to Aussie? Not really. He has to stay behind. And that, look at that, 109.1 from Weeksy. Fastest lap so far of the Grand Prix. Would earn him an extra point, actually, if he can keep that. So that will go down to 5-point gap if Ozzy retains his position. Inkstar looking to change that, though. Round the outside, he's looking to hook it up. This is a huge moment in the championship fight. Is the overtake down to Ozzy? Oh, no! Ozzy span! Ozzy span! He's spinning down the order. He's spinning down the order. He's in P8. Connection with Inkstar and Ozzy. That is championship defining. Oh my word! I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. And the flag is now going to come up as Weeksy, after controversy between Ink and of course Ozzy, wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. It goes into Abu Dhabi and Weeksy has overtaken Ozzy in the championship standings going into it. The gap is 8 points. Weeksy going into this. It looked a little bit like a mountain to climb to get an overtake on Ozzy, but that mountain has been conquered. It goes into Abu Dhabi and Weeksy is favourable to win it. The drama, the fights, the battles, the pace, all being injected into what has been thoroughly a entertaining Brazilian Grand Prix. The penultimate race is the most entertaining race and could be a championship-defying race with Weeksy winning the Brazilian Grand Prix. Inkstar just behind. He finished the Grand Prix and, of course, caused that little occurrence there with Mr. Ozzy, which dropped him down to 8th on the grid. So Weeksy up top, Inkstar 2nd, DJ Flux 3rd, Brad 4th, Callum 5th, Ragnar 6th, Megan 7th, Ozzy 8th, Game Changer 9th, Remix P10, Harry P11, Chris Downs P12, Codfish P13, Cringe P14. Thank you all for winning. Thank you all for watching in what has been such an entertaining RWSRL race. We hope we'll see you for the next one, for the finale in Abu Dhabi. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.